All right, get ready because today we're diving deep into the world of welding engineering.
We're going to help you get ready for that big interview.
Yeah, we're going to be using a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher, like career guides, and even some of their AI tools.
Think of us as your personal interview coaches.
So let's get started with the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
It emphasizes how important it is to really understand what a welding engineer does.
Because it's so much more than just welding, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You'd be involved in research and development, design, quality control.
You're basically responsible for making sure the whole welding process is good.
That's right, you'd be responsible for the integrity of the whole thing.
Which is a big deal because there are tons of industries that rely on welding.
Yeah, everything from construction to aerospace and robotics.
So let's get into some interview questions you might get asked, like this first one.
Okay, hit me.
What inspired you to become a welding engineer?
The classic.
I know it's tempting to just give like a generic answer.
But you want to stand out, you know?
Right, so what should our listener do?
Think about what really got you interested in welding. Think back.
Was it a specific project
Mm,
or a mentor who inspired you?
maybe even something from when you were a kid. Like, were you fascinated by how things were made?
Yeah, tell a story.
Exactly. Like, did you ever try welding yourself and get hooked?
Or were you inspired by seeing welding used to build huge structures?
Because the interviewer wants to see that you're really passionate about welding.
Okay, let's move on to a more technical question.
All right, let's do it.
What types of welding processes are you familiar with?
So this is where you can show off your technical skills, but
Oh, what?
it's not enough to just list off all the processes, you know?
So don't just say MIG, TIG, stick.
Right. You need to show that you understand when and why you would use each process.
Oh, I see. So like what are their advantages?
Yeah. And when would you choose one over the other?
So for example, you could say,
I'm really good at MIG welding, which is super useful for high volume production because it's fast,
but if I needed to weld something really detailed, I'd probably use TIG welding.
because it gives you more precision and control.
Yeah, that's a great way to show your stuff.
For sure. You're showing you can think critically.
Speaking of critical thinking, the next question is about quality control.
Okay, shoot.
How do you ensure welding quality and integrity in your work?
That's a good one.
So how would you answer that?
Think about the whole process.
From inspecting the materials to checking the welds after they're done.
What are the specific things you do to make sure every weld is perfect?
Because details are super important here.
Yeah, don't just say, I inspect the welds.
Talk about visual inspections and other methods like ultrasonic or radiographic inspection.
And don't forget about those welding codes and standards.
Because you need to show that you understand the industry regulations.
Exactly. It shows you're serious about quality.
Speaking of standards, how do you stay up to date with the latest technologies?
That's a great question.
Because this field is always changing, right?
Absolutely. So you need to show that you're committed to always learning.
Do you go to conferences or take online courses?
Are you part of any professional organizations like the American Welding Society?
What about resources for staying informed, like journals or social media?
You want to show that you're genuinely interested in learning new things.
Okay, now let's talk about problem solving, which is a key skill for any engineer.
Absolutely.
How do you approach problem solving in a welding project?
So here's your chance to really shine as an analytical thinker.
So walk them through how you identify and solve problems.
Do you start by gathering information?
Do you try to figure out the root cause of the problem?
And how do you come up with possible solutions?
This is also a great place to share a real-world example from a project you worked on.
Like maybe you had to deal with a design flaw or a problem with the materials.
Sharing a specific story will make a big impact.
It shows that you can handle real challenges, not just theoretical ones.
Speaking of real challenges, safety is obviously huge in welding.
Yeah, for sure.
So the interviewer might ask how you ensure safety in welding projects.
Don't just recite those safety protocols.
Talk about what you actually do to stay safe.
Like what kind of personal protective equipment do you use?
And how do you make sure the work area is properly ventilated?
Have you ever spotted a potential hazard and taken steps to fix it?
Because sharing a story about how you went above and beyond for safety makes a huge difference.
It shows that you're not just following the rules, but you're really committed to safety.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about project management.
Okay, sounds good.
How do you manage project timelines and budgets in welding projects?
So think about a project you worked on from beginning to end.
How did you plan it out, set milestones, and track progress?
Did you use any special software?
How did you make sure everyone was on the same page?
And don't be afraid to talk about any challenges you
Like,
face.
did you ever have to change the timeline or the budget?
How did you communicate those changes and come up with solutions?
Because those examples show you can adapt and make good decisions under pressure. Now, we've talked about technical skills, but let's not forget about the rules.
Of course, rules are important.
So the interviewer might ask how you ensure compliance with welding codes and standards.
This is where you can show that you pay attention to detail and that you understand those industry regulations.
How do you stay updated on the latest codes?
And how do you make sure you follow them in your welding procedures and documentation?
It's really helpful to have a specific example here,
Yeah, think about a project where you had to deal with some tricky codes.
and how you made sure every weld met those requirements.
Like, if you have experience with specific codes like AWS D1.1 for structural welding.
That shows you know how to apply those codes in your work.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have. But we're not done yet.
We'll be right back to dive into career insights and how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prep.
It's going to be great, so stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
And, speaking of rules and compliance, the RoleCatcher Career Guide really highlights how important it is for welding engineers to stay on top of industry trends.
Yeah, that's a good point because this field is constantly changing with new technologies and techniques popping up all the time.
Right, and it's not just about keeping up with those changes.
It's about being ahead of the curve.
Exactly. So how can our listeners show that they're forward-thinking in their interviews?
That's a great question. Any advice?
Well, one thing they could do is research the company they're interviewing with.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
See what kind of projects they're working on, what technologies they're using.
Yeah, showing that you've done your homework always looks good.
Absolutely. And then during the interview, you can mention some of those emerging trends you've researched.
Like maybe talk about automation or 3D printing and welding.
You want to show that you're not just a skilled welder, but an engineer who's excited about the future.
And that excitement can be contagious.
For sure. It shows that you're not just looking for a job, you're looking to make a real contribution.
And speaking of making a contribution, what about career paths for welding engineers?
The RoleCatcher Guide actually talks about this. There are several different options.
Yeah, it's not just a straight line. You could specialize in a certain process or move into management.
You could even go into research and development.
So it's good to think about your long-term goals.
Yeah, the interviewer might ask where you see yourself in 5 or 10 years.
It's okay if you don't have a definite plan, but it's good to have some idea.
Right. And that can actually lead to some interesting follow-up questions.
Like if you say you're interested in research, they might ask what area of welding you'd like to explore.
Exactly. It's your chance to show off your passion.
And speaking of showcasing your skills, let's talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare for your interview.
This is where technology meets strategy.
Sounds pretty futuristic.
So RoleCatcher has these amazing AI features that can really take your interview prep to the next level.
Tell me more.
So imagine you upload a job description to RoleCatcher,
Okay, I'm imagining it.
and their AI analyzes it, picking out the key skills and keywords that the employer is looking for.
So it's not just giving generic advice, it's tailored to the specific job I'm applying for.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal coach who knows exactly what the hiring manager wants.
Wow, so how does that help me?
Well, remember those sample answers we talked about?
Yeah.
You can actually put those answers into RoleCatcher, and the AI will give you feedback.
Whoa, wait. It actually analyzes your answers.
It sure does. It's like having a second pair of eyes. But these eyes are powered by artificial intelligence.
That's so cool.
It'll tell you if you're hitting those key points from the job description, if you're using clear language, and if you're showcasing your skills effectively.
So it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly. It's all about crafting answers that are both informative and engaging.
I bet that's super helpful.
It really is. For example, let's say you're answering that question about welding quality, and the job description really emphasizes non-destructive testing methods.
Right.
RoleCatcher's AI might suggest you give specific examples of those techniques you've used.
So like ultrasonic testing or radiographic inspection.
Yeah, and how you use the results to improve your welding procedures.
That's really smart.
It's all about showing that you've really thought about how your skills match up with what they're looking for.
So it sounds like RoleCatcher has a lot to offer.
It does. Beyond the interview prep, they have other tools to help you with your career.
Like their CV Builder and Career Compass.
Exactly. The CV Builder uses AI to help you create a resume that's specifically tailored to the jobs you're applying for.
Wow, that sounds super useful.
And the Career Compass is like a GPS for your career.
So it helps you figure out what your next step should be.
That's it. It helps you identify your strengths, explore different career options, and set goals for yourself.
It sounds like a fantastic resource.
It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of practical advice, but let's not forget about the big picture.
Right. What's next for welding technology?
How do you see yourself contributing to its evolution?
That's a great question to think about, not just for the interview, but for your whole career.
Yeah, where do you see yourself going in this field?
The world of welding is going through some major changes right now.
Like automation and robotics,
Mhm.
3D printing, and who knows what else?
And as a welding engineer, you have the potential to be a part of these innovations.
It's exciting to think about.
It really is. So keep those questions in mind as you move forward in your career. They'll help you make decisions and stay inspired.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one inventing the next big welding technology.
That's the dream, right?
It really is exciting. So to all our listeners out there getting ready for their welding engineer interviews,
We hope this deep dive has helped you feel more prepared and confident.
and maybe even more excited about all the amazing opportunities out there in this field.
You've got the skills and the passion to succeed, so go out there and make your mark.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher has all those awesome tools and resources to help you along the way.
From prepping for your interviews to figuring out your next career move, they've got you covered.
So check out their AI-powered tools and their career resources and let them help you reach your full potential.
Best of luck in your welding endeavors.
We can't wait to see what you achieve out there.
Until next time.